Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin Robbie Billups, and this is the weekly pop culture wrap-up. That's right, everybody. The weekly pop culture wrap-up is the show where I go over the week's pop culture news, mostly comic books and movies. And of course, we're very light on pop culture news this week because last week we had San Diego Comic-Con. Lots of stuff, lots of trailers, lots of comic book news. All that stuff last week was covered in last week's pop culture wrap-up. A link down below if you want to check all that out. But this week it was kind of light, but one thing that slipped through before I did my San Diego wrap-up was Frank Miller's Superman Year One. So let's get into comic books real quick. Superman Year One by writer Frank Miller. I don't think he's doing the artwork at all. I'm not sure. I don't think an artist was announced for it, but he is writing it. And it makes kind of sense because Frank Miller is very famous for some Batman work, including Dark Knight Returns and my favorite, Batman Year One. I think Batman Year One is an amazing entry into not just Batman, but comic books in general. I love Batman Year One, and it is typically the one comic book that I recommend to someone for their first comic book. Now, Frank Miller did an excellent job in Year One. It's subtle, it's deep, it gets into Gordon, it gets into who Batman is and why he does, but it's more about Gotham City and Gordon, and that's why I like it so much. What will he do for Superman? Well, at first, I'm not really quite sure if I'm down for this idea, because Frank Miller typically, the way that he writes Superman is very government stooge. Right? And think about Dark Knight Returns and all the sequels for that. Superman is written by Miller and characterized as kind of like a government stooge. He's kind of like a tool of the man, of a system of oppression. He's very, in Dark Knight Returns, he's very much a Reagan-esque type character. He even looks like Ronald Reagan. But Frank Miller stated that those Superman stories, or those Superman characterizations, are told through a lens of a Batman story. And Batman is definitely more of a depressing, dark, negative type mindset, right? And so that comes out when Miller's doing a story through Batman's worldview. So if he really does have this idea of who Superman truly is, which I think is perfectly encapsulated in All-Star Superman. If you've never read that book by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, I'll throw a link down below to an Amazon site where you can help support PCP and check it out at a good price. Seriously, that's the perfect encapsulation of who Superman is. If Miller gets who Superman is, like he seems to be saying that he does, and that his Superman book would be more awe-inspiring and more about who Superman actually is and not through the lens of Batman, I could be down for it. I could totally be down for it, especially if the right artist gets announced for it. Either way, I will read it. But we shall see. If we get the Superman that we typically get in Frank Miller stories, I'm not down for it. But if we get something that's like to the essence and the root of who Superman is as a character and as a mythological figure, then I'm 100% down for that. So moving on, another big comic book thing that was this week, is really the only super huge big comic book news this week, was the 1 million BC Avengers being unveiled by Marvel. So Marvel Legacy, it's a one-shot coming up from Jason Aaron, Esad Ribic. Everybody's really anticipating this. It's kind of going to launch out post-Secret Empire into the next wave of Marvel stories, which kind of want to harken back to that nostalgia feeling of old school Marvel. They almost are it's almost like they're riding on the coattails of DC Rebirth, but in a Marvel type way. So they're doing that. They're bringing back things like Foom, fans of Almighty Marvel, and that is super awesome to me. I'm actually very excited for that. And they're bringing back the value stamps and trading card covers and retro action figures in the Marvel Legends line. They're doing all kinds of stuff to bring back that nostalgia feeling. Like DC has actually done a very good job of capturing that nostalgia from like late 80s, early 90s comic books especially. There are a lot of people from the era that read comics back then that got out of it that are coming back and really just loving some of these new stories at DC. Marvel's trying to, I think, get in on that and even go a little bit further because Marvel is also dominating in the 70s and 80s. They're bringing back a lot of cool stuff. Foom, oh my goodness. I've never been able to be a part of Foom, so this is going to be super pumped out for me. But in that Marvel Legacy one-shot, Jason Aaron's going to reveal that there were Avengers 1 million BC. In 1 million BC, there was a team of Avengers. It's Black Panther, Phoenix, Iron Fist, Odin, Ghost Rider. Am I missing one? Starbrand. Am I missing another? I think those are the ones. And they unveiled the artwork by Mike Deodato Jr. And yeah, it's kind of lackluster, I think, because they just look... Oh, Agamotto. That's the other one. They just kind of look like typical comic book representations of early man and woman, but with like Phoenix Fire and a Black Panther mask and things like that, right? And it's a cool idea. We shall see. But the Ghost Rider, that right there, Ghost Rider on a flaming woolly mammoth is just awesome. That's the coolest thing of that announcement to me. There's also some rumors coming around that someone is trying to maybe restart Wizard Magazine, possibly as an online entity or just as, once again, a magazine, a physical copy magazine in the real world. Now, if you're not familiar, Wizard Magazine was like the thing back in the 90s. They were a huge comic book news magazine. They grew really, really fast, and they had a really, really just slow and excruciating downfall that just a lot of bad stuff happened at the end of Wizard. But Wizard for a long time in the 90s was like the place you went for comic book news. This is pre-internet really too, right? That's where you went. They had a monthly price guide that was always a little outdated because it was a monthly magazine. But I had a dream. I always wanted to be a writer or an editor at Wizard Magazine. So the fact that maybe they're coming back in some form or another is really exciting to me because it keeps the dream alive that maybe one day I could write an article for Wizard, because that's something that I always wanted to do back in the day. It's one of the reasons why we do here at PCP what we do, especially with the comic book thing, is because I've had a passion for comic books ignited in me since the mid to late 80s, and Wizard just helped fuel that with a knowledge about the industry, the writers, the creators, the artists, everything about comic books. Wizard just helped build even further in my mind and my soul, and I owe a lot to Wizard Magazine. It wasn't always the best magazine, especially at the end. There's really some bad practices, some bad coverage, but they used to break a lot of news. They were responsible pretty much for a rise of Image and even Valiant at times. Wizard coming back could be really, really cool, especially if I got to write something for them. So whoever, if you're ever watching or you know someone who's involved in all this Wizard stuff, if it's true, Rockin Robbie Billups would love to write for you. Anyway, Punisher is War Machine. This is kind of old news, but I haven't really addressed it yet. I'm a huge War Machine fan, and they killed War Machine in Civil War II, and I'm still not quite over that. I still don't think that's cool. And Punisher now is going to be wearing the War Machine armor. First of all, Punisher in War Machine armor, as a fan, that's just cool. That's just fun, super cool. Definitely going to check that out because I have not been liking the Punisher book. But now I will check it out in Legacy because of this. However, he ain't War Machine. Bring back James Rhodes. Like, I'm all for real, impactful death in comic book universes like the Marvel Universe. But James Rhodes was the bad call, and it's bad to get rid of James Rhodes and replace him with the Punisher. Come on, the Punisher is the character in and of himself. He's fine. Don't use War Machine to try to sell Punisher. Use James Rhodes to try to sell War Machine. But I don't know. War Machine's never been the most popular character or the most popular book, but I love War Machine. And the idea of Punisher as War Machine is really cool. But it does make me just go, man, they should not have killed James Rhodes. Absolutely. So that's comic book news. I do a weekly comic book review here. Of course, you're probably familiar with it. If not, you should totally check it out if you're into comic books. Next week, what am I looking forward to reviewing? First of all, Jack Kirby's 100th birthday is August. We're doing a podcast about that, actually. But Jack Kirby's 100th birthday is approaching, and DC is doing a series of one-shots based on some of his DC creations. New Gods. The New Gods special comes out next week. Excited for that. Turok #1 from Dynamite Entertainment comes out next week. I'm only excited about this because I've been reading Magnus and just loving it. This revisioning, this reimagining of Magnus by Dynamite Comics right now and Kyle Higgins is amazing. Turok, maybe it could be something cool and a sleeper hit too. I'm excited to check that out. Jay Farber is a writer, and he writes one of my favorite Image books called Copperhead. He's got a new one coming out called Elsewhere #1. Excited to check that out. Warren Ellis has Injection #14 out next week. And from Marvel, we have Hawkeye #9 and Unstoppable Wasp #8. Two of my favorite Marvel comic books right now, seriously, straight up. But also we have the launch of Generations, kind of like the unofficial but / official start of Marvel Legacy is Generations. It's a weekly event where the new iterations, the new versions of these characters will meet with the old versions of the characters. And this one, the first one, will be Hulk. So it's Totally Awesome Amadeus Cho Hulk meeting Bruce Banner OG Hulk. So the first one of those comes out next week. Exciting news. Excited to get into that. See if Generations is kind of like the appetizer for the main entree, which will be Marvel Legacy, coming very, very soon. Super excited for that. Movie-wise, not too much this week. Seriously, guys. The It trailer came out, though. I checked that out. It looked kind of cool. I don't know. It looked all right. I just realized that dude from Stranger Things is in it. Just realized that. So that's cool. He's playing the Seth Green character from the original miniseries, if you remember that from TV. I actually just watched the first part of that It miniseries from the early 90s last night, and it was still very, very effective. Tim Curry as Pennywise is amazing. It's very, very scary. The kid part, at least. We shall see what happens when I watch part 2 tonight. But I really liked watching the old school one. Watching the trailer seems neat. Do you notice that they're only showing the stuff about the kids? It does look all right, but I do think the new Pennywise, at times, they're trying too hard to be scary. I don't know. It doesn't seem like the Pennywise makeup from the early It with the Tim Curry stuff. I don't know. They're just clowns, and he kind of looked like Bozo to me, and that was super creepy. And they give him the teeth, but he's just very scary, and his whole attitude and the way he talks, and he's spastic. It's super scary. It looks almost, maybe, are they trying too hard in the new It movie? I don't know, but the trailer actually looks pretty cool. Looks creepy. We shall see. As long as it doesn't rely too heavily on CG and non-practical effects, I think it could be good, because the first half of the original It was really, really good. I've never read the book. I've always wanted to read the book, but I was always fascinated with it ever since I was a child or younger, because that movie was really creepy to me, at least the first part especially. Daniel Craig, is he back as James Bond? I don't think that's been confirmed. A lot of people think it's been confirmed. I think that the rumors are out there, and I think that it's almost nearing confirmation, and it very well may happen. I think Daniel Craig may be done, but it would be nice to see him go out on one really good Bond movie, because Spectre to me was just not the movie to go out on as Bond. If you dig, it's kind of like when Bronson left after Die Another Day. It's like, dude, you should have done one good one. Like, seriously. I mean, GoldenEye was great, and I like Tomorrow Never Dies and World Is Not Enough, but Die Another Day is not the movie to go off with. I love Casino Royale. I love Quantum of Solace, maybe even more. Skyfall is really good. Spectre, though, I didn't really like that much. I liked it at first, but as time progressed, all of us here at PCP, our interest and excitement for the movie really, really waned. So, yeah, it's cool to see Daniel Craig come back. I think he's getting a little up there for the role today, because back in the day, I mean, obviously, Sean Connery was super old, and Roger Moore was super old at times when they were playing the character. But, yes, I'm excited to have Daniel Craig come back, but this should definitely be his last one, so let's make sure it's a good one. So that's what I got for pop culture news. Like I said, it was kind of a light week, but PCP news. Right now, you can check out our New York Movies podcast. It's on our website, popculturephilosophers.com. It's also on iTunes, Android podcast services, all that stuff. Check it out. Links down below. It's a great show. I had a lot of fun doing it. Very, very soon, Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie has a new episode coming out that we recorded months ago, but it's finally been edited down a little bit, and it's about to come out. Lies and Fish. I'm very excited for you guys to see that. We got some more Rockin' Robbies coming up, of course, soon. Also, the next Pop Culture Philosophers episode is mere a couple weeks away, and it's all about robots, androids, artificial intelligence, all that stuff. Super, super fun episode. We got deep. It went a little long, but I don't care. It was really fun. And if you want to hear the Pop Culture Philosophers discuss what exactly life is, that's the episode for you. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below, what was your favorite news in pop culture this week? Comic book, movie, TV-wise, whatever happened this week. What were you into? What did you like? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe. I do this every week, as well as the weekly comic book review and other things like movie reviews we do here, and tons of things. Our podcast and all that can be found at popculturephilosophers.com. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us, and keep on keeping on. Deuces.